Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes, back with you on this very, very, very special Independence Day edition of All In. We are very glad you're here. We're glad to be here as well. It is a day for family and food celebrations, and also, in this era, protests. From Worcester, Massachusetts to Sioux City, South Dakota, from Palm Bay, Florida to Tustin, California, Americans celebrated the nation's birthday by, once again, demonstrating against the Trump administration. And protests scheduled all over the country as part of a Free America weekend and No Kings 2.0, a kind of sequel to those massive protests last month against Trump's military parade in Washington that, by some accounts, got between 3 or 5 million people around the country at thousands of sites. The protests got a new sense of urgency today with the passage of Trump's one big deficit-busting bill that cuts taxes for billionaires, cuts Medicaid.
Dear Democrats, if you've watched this far, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and write your thoughts in the comments.
Showers money in an utterly unprecedented fashion on the ICE police force that has been grabbing car washers and landscapers and farm workers off the street. And it wasn't just Americans. Yesterday in France, ahead of the July 4th holiday, an artist unveiled a mural depicting Lady Liberty covering her face in shame. Of course, Lady Liberty, a gift from the French. Even before Trump signed that spending bill this afternoon, protests against his administration had reached new highs. According to this chart put together in June by pollster G. Elliott Morris, who we just spoke in the last hour, the number of protests against Trump this year was about triple what we saw in the same period from his first term in 2017. If you watch the news or listen to just mainstream reporting, do you get the sense that that's true? I feel like you don't. I don't feel like that's actually been particularly well covered between you and me. That was all before this week. What we see everywhere is that Trump and Republicans are actually unpopular. But, and here's the rub, so are Democrats. In an Economist YouGov poll taken last week, just 30% of respondents had a favorable impression of Democrats in Congress. 62% had an unfavorable opinion, leaving Democrats underwater by more than 30 points. Of course, that was before Democrats in the Senate and the House united in opposition to Trump's big bill. They seem to, at least as of now, successfully framed it, accurately, I would say, as a Republican giveaway to the plutocrats at the expense of everybody else. But for many Americans protesting this Independence Day, the real question isn't what the administration is doing, it's what will Democrats actually do to stop it. Congressman Ro Khanna is a Democrat of California. He's a vice chair of the Progressive Caucus, which is launching what it calls an accountability summer after the passage of the big billionaires bill. And he joins me now. Congressman, good to have you on. Happy 4th. Where's your head at after this legislative victory for this genuinely awful piece of legislation?
Well, happy 4th, Chris, to you and your viewers. Look, I think you were absolutely right when you said that this bill is worse than Trump's first tax bill, than George Bush's tax bill. And here's the rub of it. This bill actually makes working class folks worse off. It takes something from them. It's taking their health care. It's taking their food security, all to give tax breaks to the billionaires. The previous bills, they at least had a pretense of making everyone slightly better off. And what we're going to be doing this summer is going into districts like Nancy Mace's, which have over 100,000 people on Medicaid, and not having me say things, but having people themselves tell their stories about what this is going to mean for hospitals there, for families there, for premiums going up.
Yeah, I mean, how much do you think is that where you see accountability happening, right? So, there's going to be the midterms, right? And there are a bunch of frontline House members, although Nancy Mace got herself a sweet deal in which she was redistricted into a very, very comfy district. Not coincidentally, her politics got much more right-wing when she went from a swing district to a very Trumpy district. But it does seem like that is the frontline place, and then there's obviously Senate contests, that this might actually start to bite in some political fashion.
Absolutely. Look, there are districts like David Valdeo's, a couple points where which have some of the largest Medicaid recipients, where I think, he's in huge trouble. But we need to actually go into these districts and show, not tell. I mean, not just have me on your show or CNN, but actually have the folks who are going to be affected. And two things that people don't understand. Right away, there's going to be an impact with the ending of the ACA subsidies. That means that premiums are going to go up for anyone on the Affordable Care Act. The second thing is because hospitals are going to anticipate these Medicaid cuts, they're going to start charging more to private insurance. And that means everyone in America's private insurance is going to go up. So we need folks in these districts telling these stories. There are about 30 districts. And even Nancy Mace, yes, it's about 10% now more Republican. But I think even those districts, there's going to be opportunities for us.
Stacey Abrams was talking about this also at the Senate level, and that's obviously the other contested races that Democrats are looking at. You've got North Carolina, where Tom Tillis, who voted against this, is not running, so there won't be an incumbent senator. That'll be an open seat. You got Susan Collins, of course, who's beaten back challenges before, who also voted against it. But then you've got, when you sort of start to expand out, you've got Texas, you've got Iowa, you've got even Nebraska, you've got Alaska, where Lisa Murkowski did vote for this. So this is what Stacey Abrams had to say about just sort of taking this messaging into those state races as well.
We've got 100 senators, not 50. And the extent to which we absolve Republican senators of protecting their people, we are doing their job for them. The best way to get a politician to not act is to not hold that person accountable. This is about an accountability summer.
How important do you think that is for these senators as well, to hear from people after their vote for this bill?
Stacey's absolutely right. She did a brilliant job in Georgia, and her helping.
If you've watched the video up to this point, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and write your thoughts in the comments.
Now it was a holiday, July 4th, everyone was barbecuing, kids were catching fireworks, but what did Trump do? What suited him? Of course, he forced the whole country into free America. We can protest. He seems to take pride in cutting taxes, pleasing billionaires, and showering. I see. Yes, that police forced that rounds of immigrants off the streets with money. Even George Bush's tax game seemed innocent by comparison. People are flooding the streets across the country from Worcester to Palm Bay, saying enough. What about the news broadcast? They act as if nothing is happening, as if a few people gathered and dispersed. Do you think this is just coincidence? Come on, look, here's the thing. This new big spending law is basically a take from the poor and give to the billionaires law. They're cutting Medicaid, ending ACA support, and hospitals are asking, where are we supposed to get the money? From whom? Of course, from our pockets. Now stop and think. How did this country get here? Just last century, Roosevelt came out with the New Deal, protecting the people, and now the New Deal era has begun. And the funny part, pardon me, the tragicomic part is that even Democrats are in the dumps in the public eye. Why? Because even their own base is asking, where's resistance? Are you going to solve this just by tweeting? Well, I'm asking, and you should ask too. What the hell are you doing? Now Rakona comes out and says, we've launched accountability summer. Well, my friend, since when us the people needed a summer vacation to hold people accountable, everyone should know this. This isn't our just because voted on election day. We said no to Trump at the ballot box, and what happened? He's still cutting taxes and feeding foreign workers to IC. Now it's clear what we all need to do. We'll speak out. We'll ask questions. We'll demand accountability, and not just mentioning it on Twitter, but to our neighbors, our families, even the cashier at the grocery store. This country is not a playground for billionaires. Together we will shout it out loud. This country is not a kingdom. We say no.